Welcome to Dig and Dive with David, where curiosity is learning. Thank you for joining today. If you like the show, please share and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And now presenting your host, David Dan Singh.
Tonight I sit down with Christian hip-hop artist and musician Phil Darko, who is a native of Toronto, Ontario. Phil started music at a very young age, listening to rappers like Jay-Z, 50 Cent, and Cassidy, until the gospel was preached out to him. That is when he decided to write music from a gospel-centered worldview. What's happening, Phil? Welcome to the show.
What's up, David? Glad to be here.
Hey, we're catching up again after a very long time, and I believe it's been 6 years, 6 or 7 years. The last time when I saw you, I know you were a man on a mission. You were a man on a mission at that point, at some point, and this was like, this guy's going to do something great. But you are. Welcome to the show again, and I can't thank you enough for coming over. What do you like to do for fun, Phil?
Yeah, well, thanks so much for having me. Even though I love hip hop, I love making music. It seems like I really like tech, but in fact, I love the opposite. I love biking. I love hiking. I like bacon. I like cooking.
Bacon? Really?
Yeah, I'm like an outdoorsy kind of guy. I love nature, but I'm the guy who would go out to nature and like put my AirPods in and listen to music. Like I like being there, but I also like to be in wide spaces, but also feel secluded, like feel to myself in those opportunities. So I love hiking with music on, which is why I went to Alberta 2 years ago. So me and my brother would hike and listen to music on the way. And I love anime and I love listening to sermons. So I like podcasting. I like listening to podcasts, and I like cartoons. I like action. So if I'm not hiking, I'm watching something. I'm not watching something, I'm cooking something, basically.
Awesome. Hey, so you said you were in Alberta. What you said? How do you like it here?
Yeah, I love Alberta. I was in Calgary at the time, so my brother and I took vacation 2 years ago before COVID and all that stuff. We spent a week. We rented a car on Turo. A friend let us stay at her house. We bought groceries for the week, and every day we went hiking. There was a day when we went twice. So like one day we'll go to Lake Louise, then we'll come back. We'll go to Jasper. Yeah. It was a fun week and ended off with a rest day to explore and appreciate Calgary. We went to the library. So just like a really cool experience that, we just went on an adventure on our own. And by God's grace, no bear attacks. Oh. We saw goats. We saw bears.
You saw bears? Wow.
We saw baby brown bears on our way home. We saw giant rainbows. We saw deer. It was really nice. And the mountain goats are kind of cool to see too. We got to see them climb up a mountain, which was awesome.
Yeah. I've been here for 2.5 years. I haven't seen a single grizzly bear or black bear. I guess when it's the moment, it is the moment, when you get to see it, you get to see it. And I think my moment is not here yet. So I think it'll be a surprise. Who knows? Yeah. Hey, Phil, tell me about your creative side in music. How did you start? How do you start, and what inspires you to write?
Yeah, so I guess I have like two sides when it comes to making music. There's like the reactive approach to music, then there's the proactive approach to music. I love both. Sometimes I'll just be walking down the street, I'll hear something, or someone will send me an instrumental and I'll hear something, and I'm reacting to what I hear, and a song just comes in my head. And it kind of feels like the song is telling me what it wants me to do. And in those situations, I don't have to do much effort or work because the beat is guiding me. And then when I rap, I'm not really rapping words yet. I first start off with a melody. Like, how do I want my raps to kind of flow? Do I, Yeah, so like I'll hear the beat, hear a melody, I'll make a melody, and then as the melody goes, I'm developing syllables and how I want the syllables to be sectioned in parts of the song, and then I'll get words or sounds first before the words. Like, oh, I want a word that ends with like ing or swole like an o word, and then I'll start writing words to fit in those spots. Um, the other side is like I just have an idea and I now need to find the beats, find a producer to match and create what I have in my head. And that's the harder approach to making songs. And it's you need a good producer who kind of understands you to do that. So like songs like Red Ink, that was me being proactive. I had the idea, I had the vision, then I had to go find a producer. Most High was the same way. However, when it came to like a song like Dreams or Right of Way or Not All Heroes Wear Capes, that was reactive. I heard the beat and then all the words came to me. So I didn't have to do much work on those songs. So that's kind of like how it goes with me when it comes to songwriting. I know all artists have very different approaches to how they make their songs.
Yeah, it's very interesting how you come up with the creative process of music. So you sit down, you start thinking about the beats, I guess, right? And then you think of words to put into the beats, and that's your process for most of the songs that you write.
Right.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Phil, tell me about your beginnings. Let's start with the beginning to your childhood, ministry, education, and college, because I'm waiting to hear that from you. I've been waiting for a long time, and just wanted to hear that from you.
Yeah, so I it's kind of started off with my parents. They're from Ghana, so I'm an African Canadian. I was born here in Toronto, and I lived in Toronto with my family till I was 10. So when I was 10, we moved to Brampton, Ontario, and that's when hip hop kind of entered into my life. So when I was about in middle school. If the kids are watching this, I was given a Walkman from one of my friends, and it was one CD, a mixtape with all these artists on it. So like 50 Cent, Jadakiss, Cassidy, Eminem, Lil Wayne. Even I always skipped the Lil Wayne song because I just wasn't a fan of him.
Yeah.
Jay-Z. So I would just hear these songs on rotation going to and from school, but I would hide the Walkman from my parents because I knew that they don't like hip hop because I lived in a Christian home, right? So, I'm hearing God's Word on Sunday, but then I'm hearing like Many Men by 50 Cent from Monday to Friday. So yeah, I had a little double life and music was like my escape. And so as I got older in high school, went through some things, and hip hop was like that place where I can escape from the world and kind of be in this spot where I felt like I was listening to people who had the same story as me. And then it got to a point where like, you know what, maybe I should try. And I would write down lyrics, but like I didn't have the spirit in me to like write rap about like women and cars and money and guns when like my life was not like that. And I couldn't swear. Like I just didn't have that same conviction. And in high school, a friend, I had two Christian friends. They pursued me everywhere. Like they were all in all my classes. They would share the gospel with me every single day. But they knew I loved hip hop. And they were like, how about you listen to Christian rap? I'm like, Christian rap? What the heck is that? And so then he kept bothering me, kept sharing the gospel with me. And I was like, you know what? Give me one good Christian rap song and I'll delete all my secular hip hop music. And he goes, okay. And so he gives me a song, and the song was called Overrated by Sho Baraka. So I listened to this song. I'm like, whoa, like the song is basically about like all the things you want to chase in life, they will never satisfy. What you're truly looking for, though you don't want to admit it, is God, and He's the only one who will satisfy you. Everything else is overrated. And so this song was like, it mind blown me. And so then that led me. So I kept my promise. I hopped on LimeWire, deleted all my music, gave back the Walkmans. I think at that time we had iPod touches. So I was deleting all that stuff. And yeah, I started asking for Christian music. I started opening my Bible, asking for a Bible, bringing my Bible to school. I wrote my first Christian rap song. Everyone said it was garbage and trash. I should never Christian rap. And yeah, God saved me in that time. And that led me to make music. And then because of that, I went to school, and that's what led me to Fanshawe. And I took the music industry arts program. And after Fanshawe, I found I was in this place of, I need something to support me so that I can do music, because I don't want to work a crappy job and then write bars on the side. Like, I want to have something good that I'm proud of, but also uses my gifts, because I do want to serve people. And so that led me to go into social work. So I'm a social service worker, group homes. I work at schools. I work with developing group programs. So it's kind of, I'm bouncing between those two things, and music, but I also love my church, and served in my church's youth ministry. It's like youth ministry, social work, music, they seem to all kind of blend together. And the church offered me a job. So I'm their youth leader. I lead, I teach, and develop leaders, and all those things have been blended in together, which God knew what He was doing from the second I got that Walkman. But I would never have planned that, my experience with social work, my love and creation for music, and my love for kids and the church would all kind of mix together. So
Yeah, that's interesting.
Kind of my story in a nutshell. Yeah.
Interesting. You said because in my time, we used to have that those cassette Walkmans,
Yeah.
and then I think that's when I never had a CD Walkman, because I think that came after that, after the cassette, and the CD Walkman got a little bit more popular. So it's really inspiring, inspiring to hear what from your beginnings to college, and how you went through that phase. Middle Child Records. How did you come up with that name?
Funny way that name was caught up. Like my homies and I, it was Boxing Day, and Anthony always wanted to make a label. And we were in the store, and my brother was involved in this process as well. So they would just look at something and be like, you know what? Expo Records, which is like the name of this whiteboard marker. Wall Records, T-shirt records, earphone records. Like, what sounds cool? We were just shoe records. We were just picking random names. And then somewhere during the conversation in the mall and at home, we were like, you know what? We're all middle children. Like, I'm in the middle of two brothers. Anthony is in the middle of a brother and sister. Daniel's in the middle of a brother and sister. Maybe we should be called Middle Child Records, because that's kind of unique. Like, and yeah, so it just rolled off the tongue. I love the family kind of aspect. So I'm like, yeah, I love, like, God's made us His children. We're all middle children. We want family in this house. So yeah, we went with Middle Child Records, and it was the best decision that we made.
Yeah, it's a cool
Yeah.
cool name there. How did you meet Anthony?
So the funny thing is, like, Anthony and Daniel both live in Brampton, but we met in London. So I went to school for music industry arts. Same with Anthony. Daniel did TV broadcasting, and the school has a chaplain. And the chaplain center is kind of where students can meet the school pastor and get that religious faith counsel and guidance, have a place to pray and practice their faith on school campus. Similar to like chaplains who are brought in wards and stuff and support soldiers. The same principle happens with students and at the airport as well. So like at this chaplain center, all the Christians kind of gathered at that spot. And I met Anthony and Daniel there. And as I got to know them, found out they lived in Brampton. Anthony living like 5 minutes away from me. Daniel living like half an hour away from me. So random, but God knew what he was doing. And then we got to know each other, hang out with one another, make music together. And we're still friends to this day.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because I met you at the same place, and that's where I got introduced to Anthony as well. So that's how Middle Child Records was introduced. Did you think that Did you think Middle Child was because you guys are all middle child? And that's how, okay, that's awesome. Yeah. Wow. Phil, tell me about what or who inspired you to actually to be a musician.
So I would say I had a teacher in high school called his name was Mr. Lou Williams. And he was the one who mentioned to me, Fanshawe has this program. And it's more on the tech side of music, because I was in the music program. I was on our jazz band, concert band, played the sax. But then when I started loving rap, I started using the school studio. So even some friends of mine would be in the studio booth all day and after school until like 6 p.m. And I think his counsel and advice was what made me choose that program. And that kind of helped pave the way. But I think the inspiration was that first song I heard, Overrated, and When I Got Saved. And so I was like, if I can be changed and get to know Jesus from someone making a song, I want someone else to have that same experience. I want someone else to turn off their secular music and listen to Christian music that actually, hits harder. I want them to, instead of go into murder and death and pride and arrogance to escape, they actually go into like theology and comfort and guidance and counsel instead, and encouragement. I just want to make music because I really love encouraging and discipling other people.
Yeah. So was he your mentor at that point, or is that when you got inspired by him and he was mentoring you through the process?
Yeah, I guess he had an eye on me and what I was doing, and so he would just nudge some gems of wisdom. So it was like an informal mentorship, but he's definitely the reason why I went into music industry arts.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And he was also my reference as well.
Wow. Your latest album was out in 2020, Heartburn 3, which is amazing, by the way.
Yes.
Could you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah. So it's kind of like an idea that begins to take more shape and clarity as time went on. So I got saved. I was 17 in school. I'm like, I'm gonna make a project. And so I made Heartburn 1. So the idea with that was like, I'm on fire for Jesus. My heart is secure in Christ. I love him. This is what makes my heart beat. And so on the Heartburn 1 cover, it's like all these elements that inspire me or motivate me that are actually in my heart. It's like music, the Bible, poetry, like the elements of hip hop, those things that move my heart. But fundamentally, what moves my heart is God, the one who made it. So that was the idea with Heartburn 1. And then it kind of began to evolve with Heartburn 2, where I was looking at scripture and seeing in Luke 24, where, you know, Jesus gives to disciples the gospel, teaches them about the scriptures, and their hearts were burning. Like they had conviction and fire from what they heard. So I'm like, that lines up with Heartburn. And that's, I guess I didn't even know that scripture existed at the time, but that's exactly my heart towards why it is I did what I did. And so Heartburn 2 began to shape more of like this, I'm still on fire for Jesus, but he is the source of that conviction that continues to be rekindled, and that we want to be secured in him. And then Heartburn 3, still the same thing, but it's more of like, yeah, I'm still that same guy who had Heartburn 1 and just loves Jesus, but I've been through some rodeos. I've been through some stuff. There's some maturity that's gone on. There's some mellowing that's happened. Like it's not like a fire has dimmed, but like the fire has, you know, broken down the logs on the flame and continues to burn. And it's like a maturing fire pit, for a lack of better words. So I do sound more grown up in that project. And that's just because Heartburn 1, I was 17. Heartburn 3, I'm 27. Yeah, so it was nice to kind of experiment with different sounds and cadences. And yeah, I truly enjoyed making that project to finish the trilogy. So there will not be a Heartburn 4 coming anytime
Which is actually
soon.
my next question. Is there going to be a Heartburn 4? So you've collaborated with a few artists in the past, namely Anthony and Daniel, I believe. There's also JoJo. Can you tell me, when you approached them, how did you guys come with something, you know, so unique?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for me, I only want to make music with my friends. I think I forgot where I saw this, probably an anime or a TV show, but it was like food tastes the best with your friends. And I try to apply that same thing with music. So if I make music with people, I want to do it with my friends. If I do it with anyone else, it's a business transaction. It's not a relationship that has transcended into creating together. So a lot of the music that I make with people, I seek to actually build a relationship with them. And so JoJo was in school with us. So I got to know JoJo, great, awesome girl. We still talk. She has been on all my projects. She's been on Heartburn 1, 2, and 3. But because we're friends, I can just call JoJo and be like, yo, JoJo, I got this song. What do you think? She goes, yeah, let me know what you want me to sing. And we work that way. And she does things in her own style. I supply like lyrics. She would even change some things. Anthony, like I trust him. Like I always I feature artists who I think are better than me. I feature artists who I think can do something that I can't. So if I make a song with someone else, it's going to sound very different because I don't want to find someone who's just like me to be on a song with me. Yeah, and I really love trying to be creative and experiment out of the box. Like I like to go back to my music and hear that all the songs don't sound the same. Like I can look like, oh yeah, Phil was experimenting here, or but then you can still spot like what does Phil really like to do in my music. So yeah, features are an opportunity to expand my borders and stretch what I'm able to do, and I think that's what grows you as an artist.
And when you collaborate with them, obviously the process takes a long time. Sitting down, talking, and coming up with a plan with the lyrics, and then to actually produce a song and just put it out there on social media. How much effort does it? Because Heartburn 3, did you was it released in a month, or how long did that take?
So with Heartburn 3, some songs were like
I believe did it take you months that you've been preparing for? Was it years? Because you've been writing, on and off, I believe. So
yeah. So some songs were the lyrics were written like years ago. But then I found new production. Some of the songs were written like a month ago. And because the project has this perspective of this is just where I am in my stage of life, it's going to feel like you're walking through my mind and kind of like what it's just going on in my life. So there are songs that, like, for example, Dreams, which is one of my personal favorites because I always try to have a song on my project that, if you gave me a mic, what's the first thing I would say? What's Phil's kind of main running phrases that I would say? That's what you'll get on Dreams. That's what you'll get on Change of Heart. That's what you'll get on Darko's Decree. So I always want to have songs that, just say it as it is where I'm at. And I had those lyrics written like years ago. Red Ink came to me a month before the project was done. Most High, probably about 6 months prior. Labor Day, that was like 2 months prior. So yeah, it's kind of like a smorgasbord of my heart. But then they all had to be reshaped and tweaked as it got closer to the project to make things sound succinct.
yeah, that's very interesting. So obviously it did take some time there to sit down with the lyrics and the music, and there, because I know Heartburn 2 also did have some collaborations with other artists. What's your thoughts? What was your process on that one?
Yeah, so as I was making some songs, Heartburn 2 probably has the most features that I have, and I just wanted, as much help as I could in order to make the song the best it can be. So, every artist that I featured kind of brought the song to a new level of light.
Yeah.
Which was really encouraging to have. Even I featured my pastor on one of my songs. So Heartburn 2, the person in the beginning is my pastor, who wrote a little Devo based on Luke 24. Every song in that project has a feature except for the last song, Hell Yes, Heavens No. So yeah, Heartburn 2 was probably one of my most experimental projects, especially with like Geppetto, with like a rock hip hop approach. Loose Heart was like a pop approach. And Parachutes was like a trap approach. So I did experiment a lot with that project.
Yeah.
And features and other people being involved in the creative process really helps me expand in those areas. So yeah.
Yeah, that's very nice. Do you, Phil? Do you think that Christian hip hop is becoming more popular in the West? Could you tell me your thoughts on that?
Yeah, for sure. It is getting more popular, but the which is a good and bad thing. Like I think I'll start with the bad. The bad thing is that when I got introduced to hip Christian rap, it was in its little corner. So it was really easy to see what is Christian rap and what I can expect from it and how it can help me. So Christian rap really helped me. It really helped me memorize scripture. It really helped me think about God, because they're very explicit in what they're saying. The good thing that was happening with Christian hip hop was that because the sound has changed and become more like regular hip hop, and because the content is not so explicit, it's allowed many people to kind of invest and swarm into the industry that are faith-based. And I think that's amazing. So like I could show people rappers and they won't even know they're Christian, but at least be provoked to think more than like guns and drugs and money and sex. But it's also not like repent and believe in the gospel. It's like this middle ground of like, we're encouraging, speaking the truth in love, speaking kindly, gentle for in some cases, but it's just positive music that is intended to stir the affection or lead you to think outside of what our culture normally, wants to portray. So I do think it's going in a good direction, and it's made things a lot easier for new and upcoming artists to be recognized, not just Christians, but by the secular industry as well.
Yeah, because interesting you said that, and because there are so many other genres of music, and you chose Christian music, Christian hip hop, which I feel is growing out here in the West. How have you come across people who have given you a feedback about your music that you didn't expect?
Yeah. I would say even in like my friend circles, so like there are music I make that is very experimental, and people are like, Phil, I don't think you should do that song. Sam, what you're trying to accomplish with this song, on and through, because I'm very rigid. If I have an idea, I'll continue to run with it, and run it to the ground. And if I like it, it will continue. If I don't, then I'll pull.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people, like I haven't received much feedback negative when I have conversations of this music. People are, ooh, that's interesting, but good feedback both in the process and after. But where I guess the opportunity for pushback seems to happen with me is in the creative process of music. And
how important do you think it is to evolve your music from time to time?
I think it's important to evolve as a musician, but I think it's also good to also be consistent. So you kind of want to create your own sound and then adapt to the culture. But if all you're doing is adapting to the culture, then you're going to sound like everybody else. If you sound like everybody else, I'd rather just listen to somebody else who has developed their own sound. So you do want to be distinct and find out how you can be distinct. I had a very hard time as an artist very early on how to be distinct. Like I love Jay-Z, I love Cassidy, but I just couldn't find how to use my own voice for the best potential. So I think for me, it was figuring out like, when does my voice sound the best? How do I get there? And that's where I was able to be more confident with how I sounded as an artist, even in speaking in general. And yeah, so I evolve in a sense where I try new instrumentals, I try new production, I try new cadences, I try new effects, but the tone and delivery and the consistency and the fluctuations that make me, that stays the same. And that's how people will remember me, and see the consistency in what I create.
Yeah, I think this has to do a lot with music generation as well. Because if I'm stuck to the 80s or 90s, the kind of music, no one will want to listen to that. But music has evolved over time. There's so many things that has changed. Um, do you think that this is going to be the case in your next album or in the next few years when you're going to drop out an album, something new that you've never heard before, or
Yeah, like I think for a very long time, the 808s and drums have been very much the same, for the last 10, 11 years. So I can see where things may evolve or kind of revert to like live drums, live bass, and that the trap kind of drill, production. I can see that dying. Not not so soon, but I do feel like it's on its way out, and we may be going back to, whether live sampling or live, band recordings of mainly bed tracks like drums and bass. So that's where I can see music trying to revert back to a more natural side of things, a natural sounding. But not anytime soon.
yeah,
I think we're in a culture where we want everything fast, and that'll be reflected in the music. So even the music we create will feel fast. Like it'll feel like what I need to be served, what the point of the song is in the first minute. So the song will be quick, the song will be catchy, it'll be punchy. But if we are a culture that, is relaxed, then our music will also reflect that as well. So I can see music right now staying the way it is for at least the next several years, maybe a decade, but I can see it slowly reverting back to a relaxed, mellow, natural kind of sound. And artists should be prepared for that.
Yeah, and I think it's very important to know about that as well as artists. Speaking as a non-artist, I would say, listeners will always change, and they want something new, they want something fresh. So I think that is going to change in the next, let's say, I don't know how many years, but I do see as we change, as technology takes over, technology's taken over most of our lives, and everything's really fast paced, changing music in every way. Do you think that's going to change as well, bringing technology more into music? Obviously, technology is heavily incorporated into music, but
yeah, I can see that happening. It already has happening. Like we can timeline someone's vocal to be exactly on beat. I think, but technology's goal is to make things easier, but still sound natural. So although technology will continue to advance, I don't think we'll evolve into this like techno digital age, especially in pop music and hip hop. But it will continue to polish the sound. And I think that's where I can see things transition to a more natural state of things.
Yeah. What's your idea on hip hop artists transitioning to Christian artists? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think when that happens, it is a blessing. And we can celebrate it. Like someone recently is like Kanye West, because he makes a lot of secular music. Like when I was in high school, middle school, I played Gold Digger. Gold Digger was on that Walkman on my way to school and back. So like, that's all I heard of Kanye. And I love that guy. Like Kanye is one of my favorite artists. So when he got saved, I was like, wow, this is amazing. And then he dropped Jesus is King, and I'm like, this is amazing. So I think we can celebrate when anyone comes to Christ, and we also get to enjoy when these people create good art for us as well. So yeah, we love to see it, and just another person that helps make Christian hip hop be easily welcome to the mass majority and culture that we're in. So God knows what he's doing, and he will use anyone and anything to get his message across.
Yeah, because there's a few secular artists who have transitioned. There's namely, one you did mention was Kanye West, and then there's Justin Bieber, who transitioned.
Yep.
And just getting, their message across, what they've been through their life, and just sharing their point of view across the audience, which is really inspiring to many young people out there. Tell me about your favorite performance so far in your career.
Yeah. So with Middle Child Records, we actually put on our own show called the Friends and Family Tour, our friend and family concert. And
how come I not get a ticket?
Was it probably was on social media. You would have had to hop on a plane and come over.
Yeah,
this was last 2 years ago, and what happened was, because I work at a church and because we're related to our church pretty closely, they were able to let us rent the building for free. And we invited our church people. The church also promoted it. We invited our friends who were artists, and we put on our own show. So like we shared it to our own fans, made our own show, made our own hip hop playlists on Spotify, and shut it down. Like that was one of our favorite shows, and it felt like we owned it. We've always been invited to shows, or we always been invited to perform a song, or feature on someone else's show. But like this was the first time where we can bring other artists to the show and do our own thing, and it was amazing. A really great night.
Yeah. What qualities, Phil, do you think makes a great musician? Do you think is there another musician you've trained or mentored with before getting into music?
Not really. I do think what makes a great musician is authenticity. Like you want to be someone who is authentic. Like you don't want to sound like everybody else. And you also want consistent. You want to be releasing music regularly. You want your sound to be consistent. You want to look stable and continue to make great art. You want to let people know that you still exist, which I'm bad at. Like I disappear, but you want to let people know that you're easily accessible. Also always like perfecting and growing in your craft. I don't think I have trained an artist. I've partnered with artists and kind of gave feedback on their material, but I haven't like discipled an artist, and an artist hasn't really discipled me. But because of Middle Child Records, we kind of sharpen each other. Yeah, so I think that's as far as I personally done when it comes to being trained and training other artists.
Yeah, very interesting. And I know I've asked you this before, but I like to repeat myself a lot here. You've collaborated with a few other artists, namely Anthony and Daniel, Anthony Sawyers and Daniel Bailey. Could you tell me a little bit about that? Why did you come with a collab?
Yeah, so what I kind of shared a little earlier was like when I feature another artist, you're able to kind of expand your sound. You're able to try things new. I like featuring artists who are different than me, and so Anthony, in many ways, is different than me. So it's always like a light and dark kind of contrast between Anthony and I, and that leads to a new kind of song that I wouldn't have been able to do on my own. I think music is enjoyed best with friends. So I really like being able to create with them and invite them onto things that I'm also pursuing.
Yeah, that's interesting. I know you're into fashion a lot because I've seen some cool outfits that you wear. What's fashion for you, Phil?
So shameless plug to like anyone who's watching. I like Walmart. Like I buy my t-shirts from Walmart. Like I love the material. It washes well. It fits well. I buy my pants from Urban Planet. I buy my pants from Adidas. Like I love the athletic vibe. Like I don't like jeans. I like sweatpants. Maybe I say that because I'm fat, but like I just love feeling comfortable. And Walmart, Adidas, Urban Planet, that makes me feel comfortable. I can care less about name brands.
Yeah, me too.
But and thrifting, like you're able to find some cool things at a thrift shop. So
Yeah. You also like technology a lot. Could you tell me a little bit about that? Technology, how important is technology to you?
yeah,
What kind of
as I recently bought an Apollo UAD interface, and that translates the sound coming from my mic and makes it a million times better than any other interface I've had before. So yeah, just being open to new sounds. I'm able to try new effects, buy new plugins, play around with the tonality of my voice with different EQs and stuff. But not to do anything too crazy because I want to still be consistent. I want a sound to be consistent. That has kind of helped take my music to the next level, but still remain affordable and easy to create music.
Yeah, interesting. What advice do you have for young and aspiring musicians?
So something that I heard was like, be consistent, but you also want to surround yourself with good Christian people. You want to have accountability, because it's easy to be like, love Jesus. I preach the gospel and I live my life, but then your life is totally different than what your music is portraying. And so having godly friends with you will keep you on track. It'll keep you on a good and healthy path for you to walk on and obey Christ. And you always want to be grounded in the truth. If you don't know what the truth is, you're not going to be making music about it. It's so easy to be swayed by things in this world. So we just want to make sure that we are always hearing from God, learning from God, pursuing Him, and music should be the overflow of that. And taking breaks when you need it, because your soul matters more than your career.
Yeah, there you go. So for our listeners out there, some golden words by Phil. Where Phil, where can our listeners connect with you? And do you have social media or?
Yeah. So all my handles are the same. It's Phil Darko Hip Hop. So you put that at sign, Phil Darko Hip Hop. You'll find me on everything. Spotify, you'll find me at Phil Darko. And everything else is Phil Darko Hip Hop. So you can expect new music coming soon. We are working, we are planning, we are preparing. But it won't be Heartburn 4. But you will see new singles and projects and collab projects with me and my friends.
And finally, I'd like to know what's next for you.
Yeah, so what's next is a group project from Middle Child Records again. A couple years ago in 2017, we did Behind Closed Doors. And so we're working on another project that is also a group project from Middle Child Records. So be on the lookout for that. That's what's next for me.
That's awesome. Hey, Phil, I can't thank you enough again for your time. I appreciate you coming over and spending time with the podcast here with me. I wish you well, and thank you again a lot.
Yeah, thank you, David. Thanks so much for having me.
See you again.
Yep.